Hey y'all, Ramdano here, coming at you from Cleveland County, North Carolina. Well, I hope you've enjoyed my last couple videos on my section hike on the Appalachian Trail from Springer Mountain to the Tree of Souls at Neel Gap. This week, I thought I'd share with you my post-hike gear review, talk to you about the things I changed at the last minute right before I got on the trail, the things that worked out for me, the things that didn't work out so good for me. Hopefully you'll learn by my mistakes. Maybe you'll even learn by my successes. In either case, stick around. There's all my gear, and yep, all that fit in my pack, and I had room to spare. I dropped my overall pack weight 10 pounds from my previous hike, so I was at 35 pounds my first hike from Rock Gap to the Nantahala Outdoor Center, and this time from the southern terminus at Springer Mountain to the Neel Gap, I was 25 pounds. So I could tell an immediate difference in that as soon as I stepped onto the trail, and it was just really total comfort on my back the whole time. It's amazing how much difference 10 pounds makes. So we'll kind of go through it, and I'll tell you some ways that I feel like I cut that down. So these are just a pair of REI rain pants. Didn't rain on me, so I didn't need those. I've got frog togs there for uppers, and that's also for a wind jacket. That keeps me warm in windy weather, as long as the temperature's not too cold. I did cut down on my clothing that I took, and instead of taking 2 pairs of each, not including what I was wearing, I just took an additional pair. So I've just got the just a pair of Russell 9-inch briefs there, some type of just a regular old no-name brand shirt, Polypro shirt. Took an extra pair of socks, Darn Tough, and liners. I do wear liners, and I attribute that to not get any blisters. Also, my Darn Tough socks are part of my sleep system, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. So, had my buff. Don't go anywhere on a hiking trail without the buff. And took my kerchief this time as well. Kind of use that to wipe my face, wipe my nose, whatever. So here we are on the sleep system. So first off, I've got my AEGISMAX sleeping bag. The first night, I just tried sleeping in that with a Outdoor Vitals liner, and it's really just a Polypro liner. There's no insulating factor to it. The AEGISMAX is supposed to be good down to 44. It's not. So I was a little cold that night, the first night on the trail. And part of my sleep system, as well as getting up in the morning also, is my puffy. So I always put that typically on in the morning, and sometimes in the evening right before I go to bed. The second night on the trail, I decided I would go ahead and utilize my full sleep system. And so we'll cover that in just a second. But part of also my cold weather gear and my sleep system is my Capilene tops and bottoms. So took those, didn't use those the first night, and again was cold. Of course, have my Sea to Summit pillow, my Outdoorsman Lab pad. Love that thing, except there is no R value to it. So probably need to, again, invest in some type of Mylar or something like that to go up under to kick up the R value on it some in the winter. Now that it's getting to be summertime, I probably won't need that. I'll go ahead and break into my sleep system. So the first night I did not wear my Capilene or puffy or socks or anything. I just slept in my sleeping bag, in that AEGISMAX sleeping bag, and that was it, along with my Outdoors Lab, and I got cold. So I went ahead and I did, in the middle of the night, before I stepped off, I stopped by Mountain Crossings, and some folks in there were talking about how they had got caught in a snowstorm a couple days earlier. It was unexpected. So I got to be a little concerned about that, because if you saw my previous video, I'd gotten cold at night. So I just went ahead and bit the bullet and bought this Fleece Liner. It cost me £1. in weight, so that bumped me up to 26 pounds. But it was worth it because the first night I went ahead and after being cold and not being able to get to sleep, I put that in, and I could kind of sleep in fits and starts, but that helped out a lot. The Outdoor Vitals liner is just doesn't do anything for insulating it, so that helped out a little bit. And then the second night I went ahead and put on a pair of socks, put on my wool cap, put on my Capeline, put on my puffy, and put all that on, got in my bag, got down to the same temperature, about 44 degrees, and I was warm as toast, slept all night. Probably was a little too warm. So in any case, but that kind of proved to me that, you know, when they start talking about how much a bag, how low it can go, that they're talking about with additional insulating layers on underneath and not just the bag. So, you know, when I was coming up in the early days, back in Boy Scouts, and before they had all these high-tech fabrics and breathable fabrics, all we had was cotton underwear, and it, you know, it's cotton, 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 and so you get in your bag and you would sweat, and then you'd get cold. So we were taught to sleep with nothing on except just our boxers or our briefs. And now things are different, and they've got high-tech, high-performance gear, and so you really have to put on something in order to stay warm, you know, unless you're going to have maybe a 15-degree bag. I don't have one of those. Might be looking at one of those. So, in any case, run quickly through my accessories. Of course, had the headlight, worked out fine. TP, enough said. Didn't even have to use it the whole weekend. The trowel, didn't need to use it. Just one of them things. First aid kit, didn't need to use it. Didn't need earplugs or anything like that. We're good to go on it. Knee pad, didn't use our knee brace, didn't need to use the brace. Of course, used the water. My Sawyer squeeze, the larger size, worked out great. I use that with a platypus gravity bag, so for the dirty water, and then I just filter directly into my bottles. Another way I cut back on some weight was that I had, instead of having 2 liters, 2 1-liter bottles, which would be 2 liters, I cut back to half a liter, so I only had 1.5 liters, plenty of water on the trail where I was, and no time did I come even close to running out of water, so no big deal there. I am a freezer bag cooker, so my little mini oven here worked out great. Cook kit, we've gone over that, worked out great. Sport, long handle sport, got to have that to get down in the bags that are down in there, so I highly recommend a sport. Did have a little problem. I ran out of fuel, so and that was my fault. I checked the fuel before I left, and the last night I ran out. I did not have a spare, so in the future, to keep from having to, you know, just buy a brand new one every time I go and wasting the fuel, I'm going to take 2. They make a larger one that's twice this big, but the problem with that is if you run out of that one, now you've just, you know, you're out as well. So if you've got 2 the same size, these smaller versions, then you know, there's not that big a weight penalty. We're talking just a few ounces to take 2 cans versus 2 small cans versus 1 big can. And if you run out, now you've still got another can that you can screw on, and you're good to go. Another huge, tremendous weight savings was I did not take near as much food, and so I did not have near as much left over at the end of the hike. So if you go back and look at what I had left over before, I had a lot left over, and this time I had you know, very little. Probably that's within the safety margin that I'm comfortable with, so I saved a few pounds there, and was glad to do that. Only electronic I have, of course, was my phone and this charger or charging block. And Anchor charging block. It's a 23,000, I believe, and that worked out fine, kept me charged up. I keep taking my pick stick or stick pick, and I only use it when I really start. So, but I've got it, it's just ounces, so I'm gonna keep taking it with me. Tracking poles worked out fine. If you remember from previous videos, I had a problem with them collapsing going up the hill, so I tightened these nuts right here, or screws rather, and it makes it a little harder to extend them out and close them, but that worked out great, and I didn't have any problems with them from there on out. Next item is my pack cover. I didn't even need it, didn't rain, so we're good to go on that. Of course, I had a contractor's bag that I put inside my pack anyway, and you know, no problems there. My pack, if you recall from my pack review, this was the first trip I had for the 2018 Exos 58 model. All in all, it worked great. Carried the weight well. You know, I've check out my previous videos for a pack review on it, but I would call that a success. So I don't like, again, the fact that it doesn't have side straps on it on the hip. On the hip, doesn't have hip pouches. So what I had to do in that case was I had to strap a pouch to it, strapped it up top, and then I've also added a Z-Pax hip pouch here for my next trip. So I put snacks, my phone, stuff like that in there, and I like those. So my shelter system was my footprint from my Big Agnes Rattlesnake Mountain Glow 2. You know, I don't use the tent, I just use the Fast Fly system on it, along with the footprint that I bought, and all that works out great. It gets a little windy, of course. You know, it doesn't have a bathtub on it, so you can get a little wind up underneath it, but it works out fine, and it's very lightweight, so that worked out great for me. So that was pretty much everything that I can recall that I took with me. Some things that I messed up and did not take, that once I got on the trail I wish I had, was, of course, when I ran out of fuel, I needed another fuel canister. I borrowed some from another hiker that we were hiking with, so that wasn't a big deal, but still I like to be self-sufficient. I forgot to take my sanitizer, so that was dumb. And the biggest thing that I missed was my duct tape / packing bubble butt pad that I made for sitting down, so I really missed that. But got by without it. Had a great trip. If you've watched those videos from that trip, you know that I really had a good time, enjoyed that. And so I'm looking forward to the next one. I'll start prepping and planning for that. I'm already doing a little bit of that, and look forward to sharing that with you. So that was my gear. If you have any questions or any comments, please leave comments down in the box below. Well, that's all she wrote for this week, folks. I got a section hike coming up latter part of June. I'll be planning for, be sharing that with you. I've also had a viewer call and ask me to do a review on my sleep system, and I thought I'd done a review on my sleep system. So I got to looking on YouTube and all my videos, and it's gone. I've done one before, but I'll do one again. If y'all have got some other things that y'all want me to do a video on, I'll be more than happy to do that. Just give me a comment below and tell me what you'd like to see a video on. Also got a video coming up about the stupidest things I've ever done on a hiking trip. So until then, hit that big old red subscribe button down here. Give me a thumbs up. Leave me a comment. And as always, appreciate you. And we'll see you out there.